Welcome to the first live stream of 2024 on OneTake. I'm the face of OneTake. If you're new here, you might not have seen this mug before. And next to me is my younger brother, Daniel.
Hey, what's up?
So Daniel, we haven't done one of these since I think August or September. It's been a while. But as I was thinking about...
You've not been releasing the episodes we've been recording?
This is like in The Office when Creed thought he had a blog, but really he was just saving files on his computer. But I was thinking about everything that's coming out in 2024, everything I'm working on, and I was so excited I wanted to talk to someone about it. And I knew in the real world, if I tried to sit down and just rant to you for 2 hours about all the stuff I'm working on, you would have just started... you do that thing you always do where you start looking like that. You know that clock that looks like a cat? And the eyes go back and forth, just darting around the room. That was going to be you. But I figured this turns you into a captive audience. You have to listen. But there is one problem, because the main thing I wanted to talk about is essentially what's coming for OneTake in 2024. But I did a poll the other day on what people want to see from OneTake live streams. And I prepared a little slideshow for you. I figured that would make you comfortable.
All right, I like data.
So let's jump into some data here. All right. Well, this is in general. Okay, so for live streams, what do people want to see? And it seems like the last thing people want is behind the scenes, what I'm working on, etc. Which, ironically, what we're doing right now, by talking about this poll, we're doing exactly what the poll doesn't want, which is not good, unless you count all of the above, which means that 25% of people want us to spend 25% of the time talking about behind the scenes. So maybe instead of going into what is coming for OneTake next year, we'll table that for now. Let's go into the film industry. How about that?
All right, let's do it.
Let's talk about latest movie/TV news, which 11% want us to talk about. Well, let's do a little look back, Daniel. These are all the movies that came out in 2023. And I want you to look at the list, tell me which was your favorite movie of 2023 and why was it The Marvels?
I hope you have more slides.
I got a couple more. Well, 2023 though. Did you see any movies last year?
Yeah, let me see. I haven't seen Godzilla yet, which I've heard is very good. Except I got one negative review.
Yeah, that's right.
I like TMNT, but it wasn't my favorite.
Why were we were 30 minutes late to that movie? You remember that story?
No, we were like 2 minutes late. We had plenty of time to go to Shake Shack.
Yeah, so we were on the way to the movie, and Daniel just started manically going on and on about it. He's like, I need to eat something before the movie. And we started throwing out possibilities. Now, normally I wouldn't go to a fast food restaurant, but this was a situation where we literally needed food very fast because it was about 20 to 30 minutes till showtime. But for some reason, the only option Daniel was willing to entertain was Shake Shack, because he figured there he could get a low-carb option. We find the Shake Shack 15 to 20 minutes before showtime. I've never seen a line this long in my life. It wouldn't even be right to call it a line. It was more of a blob. You know where you have so long a line, it has to kind of go back and forth, and it fills in the entire store? But Daniel says, no, it moves faster than you think. We're waiting. And then he drops that line of reasoning, and then it's, no, don't worry. There's an hour of previews before every movie nowadays. We leave Shake Shack at showtime. We get to the theater, and we missed, I think, the first 5 minutes, the cold open.
Yes, but by avoiding fast food...
I can't rightfully say that I've seen Mutant Mayhem, because I missed the first 5 minutes of it.
You know what the most frustrating thing was? Remember the reason it was like this big crowd at Shake Shack? There were several of those self-order computers available, and they just didn't even realize those were open. Do you remember how frustrated I was? They just were standing there like lemmings.
That's right.
I guess the opposite of lemmings, because lemmings would have just proceeded forward.
So So those
Yeah.
are our thoughts on
On
TMNT.
TMNT. I loved Across the Spider-Verse. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
So that's
I was on Hack the Movies the other night on their end of 2023 live stream, and one of the super chats asked, "What's your favorite movie of the year?" And I drew such a blank. It was also after about 3 hours of talking, so my brain was kind of just mush by that point. But the chat right before that was about Godzilla, so that was the first one that came to mind. And so I was like, all right, yeah, okay, Godzilla, that might have been my favorite of the year, but I forgot about Across the Spider-Verse. And if I were going to go just based off what I enjoyed the most, it was probably the Marvels. I'm just going to keep going back to that. Honestly, I probably enjoyed Across the Spider-Verse the most. But I've noticed that lately I have this, my reaction to movies has just gotten really out of whack, where I will walk out of a movie and be like, that is the greatest movie I've ever seen in my life. I felt that way after John Wick. I definitely felt that way after Across the Spider-Verse. And then over time, I start to come back down to earth. By the time I rewatched Across the Spider-Verse like 3 times to update my Spider-Man recap, which I never thought, Daniel, growing up, what are you going to do for a living? I thought maybe a scientist or a magician. I have a story about that the other day. But I never would have thought, growing up, my job will be summarizing Spider-Man movies.
John Wick was like the best movie ever when I walked out of it. Sisu kind of was lame. Oppenheimer was like, I put Oppenheimer and Napoleon in the same category for me of like, they were immersive and like I enjoyed it, but they left like, no, Oppenheimer had more of an impact on me. Oppenheimer, I thought about for weeks after.
How long do we have to pretend we liked Oppenheimer?
I liked Oppenheimer.
I'm just kidding. I did like Oppenheimer. I quite liked it. I would even go so far as to say.
You never made a Werba. You never made a video about Oppenheimer.
Well, okay, so a couple things there. First off, WERBA is our internal acronym for what blank is really about. We switched the A and the B in about to make the acronym more easy to pronounce as a word. I had thought about doing a WERBA for Oppenheimer, but after my Inception WERBA severely underperformed, it kind of turned me off to Christopher Nolan videos. But I might revisit that down the road.
Your Inception Werbo is really good. I spent a lot of time reviewing it. You rewrote it a bunch. It was interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was good. Guy Incognito, why haven't you watched my Inception Werba?
Oh, I didn't have the chat up.
Yeah.
Why didn't he watch it?
We talked about this, Daniel. You can't just freeze up in the middle of a live stream. You remember that time I let you host it? We started, you're like, welcome to OneTake, and then you just stopped. And I just let you hang there. I was like, I'm not going to jump in here and save the day. I'm going to let him hang his own rope. And you sat there and just stared into the distance for about 5 minutes. Drool started forming at the corner of your mouth. At a certain point, I realized maybe you're having a serious medical issue. And I just kept staring. The most awkward OneTake live stream we've ever had.
Wait, no. House of the Dragon, episode 7, I hosted, and it was one of our best live streams ever.
Yeah, you read all the wikis, so you could sound like you knew everything about the Game of Thrones lore.
And I listened to the official podcast.
Yeah. So Dan, what was your favorite movie of 2023?
I liked Oppenheimer. I liked Creed. I forgot Creed came out this year. Guardians. How did I feel about Guardians at the time? I think it was another one like that I enjoyed it.
It was emotionally manipulative.
Yeah. I think Across the Spider-Verse.
All right, there you go. But you haven't seen Godzilla though.
No.
But yeah, I quite enjoyed Across the Spider-Verse. What's coming up in 2024? Most anticipated films of 2024. Are you ready?
Cool.
Right. Oh, and that's all of them. Okay.
Wait, no. Can I think of any other movies coming out next year? I'm sure there's a bunch of Marvel trash.
Hey.
Really
we still have that MCU timeline to update, Daniel.
Sorry. I'm sure there are going to be some masterpieces for Marvel. We can bleep that out, right?
Sure.
Uh, uh, yeah, I can't think of anything else.
All right. Well, here you go. Here are the other films coming out in 2024. In
Madam Web,
February,
that's
you have
Spider-Man?
that's Spider-Man. Yeah. Did you see that
Spider-Woman.
trailer?
No.
It looks really bad.
Ghostbusters?
Yeah. Frozen Empire.
Okay, Untitled M. Night Shyamalan project, that could be cool.
That could be interesting.
Godzilla, what's this one?
This one's going to be funny because, Godzilla -1 just came out and it's getting all this acclaim except for that one guy. And the reason people like it is because of how serious, sincere it is. It brings back ideas and themes. But this new one is a cartoon. A lot of people are upset because this is the American continuity, right? Godzilla -1 was Toho, Daniel. That's the Japanese company that makes the OG Godzilla movies. Over here in America, we have the current continuity that began with Gareth Edwards' Godzilla in 2014. Okay? This is the second Godzilla King Kong crossover. The first one was Godzilla versus Kong, and this one is Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire, where they're working together. You know, when two companies collaborate, it'll be X in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the two of them working together. People are very upset because in the trailer there's a shot of Godzilla just full out running, and it just looks kind of cartoonish. Because can you imagine Godzilla just like swinging his arms, running next to King Kong? And I'll say that I have not liked any of the current continuity Godzilla movies except for the 2014 one, and Skull Island was pretty good, the King Kong kind of prequel. And by the way, let's go to the chat for a second. So talking about movies coming out in 2024, Deadpool 3. Are you excited for Deadpool 3, Daniel?
Oh, with Wolverine, Hugh Jackman. Is that on here?
Yeah, it's on here. It's over under July. July. Deadpool 3, Marvel's Last Hope.
Nice.
That's my subtitle that I gave it.
Oh.
I mean, I think this is Disney's chance to really get a lot of goodwill back, because at this point, it seems like nobody is on board with Marvel anymore. The Marvels flopped hard. And they delayed Captain America 4 until 2025. It was supposed to come out in 2024. So clearly they're retooling that. Now, Deadpool 3, there's going to be a ton of breaking the fourth wall. But if they can make Deadpool 3 kind of like the Scream of superhero movies, where it pokes a lot of fun at the genre while also being a solid entry in the genre, and if they can poke fun at themselves, but also give us hope, this is what they need to do. Make fun of themselves, but don't use that as a way to let themselves off the hook. Say, here's what we're doing wrong, and now in this movie, we're going to show you that we can do it right. We're going to have compelling characters, we're not going to demean them, and we're going to have high stakes with a small personal story, but also we're going to be hilarious. This is a chance to win everyone back. Marvel's Last Hope.
Yeah, I have every confidence that's going to happen.
MJ says, willing to see Furiosa in a theater.
Is that Mad Max? The character from Mad Max?
Yes. Now to be played not by Charlize Theron, but Anya Taylor-Joy.
No way.
Yes.
They just put Anya Taylor-Joy in everything.
Yeah. Have you not seen
they're like... No, I've not seen the trailer, but they're like very different types
the two
of
actresses?
Actresses, yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Like Charlize Theron's been in like a bunch of action stuff. Has Anya Taylor-Joy done any action stuff?
Would you consider Mario an action movie?
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. There's not as much physical acting in that one. I'll say this. The trailer looks good, but you can't help but compare it to the Mad Max Fury Road trailer. And I feel like the Fury Road trailer had a few hooks that just got into your brain and didn't leave. There was them driving into that giant storm, and it was just visually amazing. And then you had the, what a lovely day. Like, you could not forget that line. This trailer just looks, after you've seen Fury Road, this trailer looks good, but it doesn't have that hook. So it could be solid. And by the way, MJ, you sent me an email a few months ago and I owe you a reply. And it haunts me to this day. I keep thinking, I got to reply to MJ, and then it just gets lost on my to-do list. But you will get that reply.
I actually have heard Gil agonize over that many times. We'd be like out at dinner, and Gil would be like, "Oh shoot, I got to respond to MJ."
And MJ specifically said in the email, you don't need to write a whole big reply. You can just write but I want to write a whole big reply. That's just my way. I'm the guy who did the 5-hour MCU recap. You think I'm even capable of writing a 1-sentence email? Tony from Hack the Movies is here, and he's like Beetlejuice. If you mention him, he just shows up. Someone's talking about me. See, if you go back up earlier, Daniel Faw, Tony loves Ghostbusters. Daniel, Tony loved. The only thing he loved more than the female Ghostbusters reboot from 2016 is the children's Ghostbusters movie from a couple years ago with Paul Rudd. Thankfully, they removed the dislike button before we did our live stream on that one.
What's Untitled Aliens movie?
Okay, so this is from Fede Alvarez. He did the 2013 Evil Dead remake, and he is making an alien movie. Originally, it was going to go straight to Hulu, but now it's actually getting a theatrical release, which is great. A lot of times you see it go the other way, where something's supposed to come out in theaters, and then they're like, you know what, just put it straight to streaming. And then David Zaslav takes over, and he's like, you know what, just drop it in the recycling bin. So it's coming straight to theaters. It takes place between Alien and Aliens, which means it's not going to be Ellen Ripley. And they've said it's not a sequel or a prequel. You can essentially think of it as a side story in the Alien universe.
It's exciting. Is Ridley Scott involved at all?
He's producing. Somehow he's gotten a lot of control over the Alien franchise. Like, I don't think it's owned by him, but I don't know, maybe it is. Tony, you know stuff. Is the Alien franchise owned by Ridley Scott? Somehow he has a lot of creative control. Daniel, I'm going to let you reply to this one. We have a super chat from Tony. Thank you. I'm excited for Madam Web because of Sydney Sweeney in a skin-tight suit.
Is Sydney Sweeney playing Madam Web?
Either is she playing, I don't remember. She's either playing Madam Web or Spider-Woman, who's also in the movie. There's like a few different spider people in the movie.
Well, thank you, Tony, for the super chat. I have no comment to make.
Well, I'll say this. I mean, from what I saw in the trailer, that suit looks CGI. So I wouldn't get too excited. I think this is going to be more like the Green Lantern, where it's... Yeah, I know you... Tony, I know you were psyched about seeing Ryan Reynolds in a skin-tight suit, and you were disappointed to see his face on basically a cartoon body. I think you can expect more of the same here.
What is the Lord of the Rings movie?
This is an animated movie. There are a couple of movies on this list where you go, wait, that's an animated movie? Welcome to this segment. Wait, that's an animated movie? Number one on the list is The Lord of the Rings, The War. How do you pronounce that, Daniel?
Oh, obviously, The War of Rohirrim.
Rohirrim. It's an animated film. It focuses on one particular battle from Lord of the Rings. I don't know much about it. I know they screened some of it at one of the Comic-Cons, and the early reception was pretty positive. I think Brian Cox is in that from Succession.
Which one was Brian Cox?
Oh, Daniel. He was the big man, the guy in charge. Succession, the big guy, the dad.
The dad was Brian Cox? I thought he had like an Irish name or something.
Moving on. The other, wait, that's animated? Is going to be Transformers High Moon. Now, the weird thing is, so this was being reported as Transformers 1, I think, for a while. It's going to be an animated movie, essentially a prequel about a young Optimus Prime, and the name escapes me for the main villain. I'm sure somebody in the chat will say it. Again, this one, I think the early buzz on it has been pretty strong. I found today in some Entertainment Weekly article that the title is Transformers High Moon. But when I Googled that, I couldn't find any source on it except for this Entertainment Weekly article. And I'll say this. When you see something in a reputable magazine, you think this has got to be solid information. They must have researched this. I no longer believe that. I no longer put credibility in these journalists, so-called. And do you know why, Daniel?
Why?
Because one of our YouTube videos was featured in a Men's Health magazine article about the most anticipated movies of, I think, 2022 or 2021. The movie was Last Night in Soho. At the time, there wasn't a trailer for it, but we had made this everything we know about Last Night in Soho so far. And it was 15 to 20 minutes of me just collecting every snippet of information available, a lot of speculation on me guessing what the movie's going to be about. And then any article written online that referenced that movie, because there was no trailer, they would just embed my video. And we ended up in a Men's Health article. So we're a couple of healthy boys over here.
I remember that. I helped scrape together a lot of the info on that one.
Yeah, that's right.
I did not end up liking that movie. Well, it's just like very creepy, which I guess what did I expect?
Well, you don't like scary movies.
No. So
So you're a healthy boy, but you're a scared boy.
tell me about Gladiator 2.
Ridley Scott returning to direct. He directed the first Gladiator. And I know what you're thinking. Why can't we have more Pedro Pascal movies? He's in it.
Is this the one that takes place in modern day, or was that script thrown out?
All right. So for those of you who don't know, they've been talking about a Gladiator 2 for years. And I'm about to spoil the original Gladiator. I'm going to give you 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. I'm about to spoil Gladiator. At the end of that movie, the main character, played by Russell Crowe, perishes. He dies. So how do you make a sequel? So they wrote a script where the gods resurrect him. And I don't know what he does after the resurrection. The important point is that due to the resurrection, as a side effect, he becomes immortal. And at the end of the movie, you get a sort of montage of him living through historical events. And it ends up with him working at the Pentagon. It's kind of like the opening to X-Men Origins Wolverine. I never actually saw that movie, but it's got one cool sequence where you see him fighting in the many different wars because he's essentially immortal. Or is he? So that was an interesting Gladiator script, which is actually floating around online. You can find that sequel script and you can read it. There's a similar ridiculous sequel for Jurassic Park. They were working on a Jurassic Park 4 for a long time, and they had written a script where they create human dinosaur hybrids, and they run around carrying guns in like a dino squad. And I think that script is floating around, or at least a treatment of it. There's a lot of those, Daniel. There's a lot of unreleased screenplays floating around that you can read, and they're pretty interesting.
That whole Gladiator 2 script is available, right? Have you read the whole thing? You should go through it and make a recap.
Well, so I have a really hard time consuming content that I'm not going to make content out of. Like, people tell me to watch a show, and if I can't see how I'll be able to create content out of that show, it's very hard to get myself to sit down and watch it. So if I can't watch something, it's hard for me to imagine that I'll be able to sit down and read an unreleased screenplay from 20 years ago. I had thought about doing some kind of a video that looks at unreleased sequels. And so do basically a recap of this what if Gladiator 2. And with AI now especially, I could get some good images that would go along with the script. I don't know how much demand there is for that. I mean, I know there's been a lot of content out of the unreleased Superman movie, when for a long time they were producing a Nicolas Cage Superman movie where infamously he was going to fight a giant spider, which got referenced in the new Flash movie. There was a whole documentary made about that unproduced Superman movie. So I know there's interest in some of that stuff. So who knows? Maybe down the road.
But we got to hear what
Gladiator
2.
Hold on, Sean. Daniel, go ahead.
Sorry. Well, no, I want to know what Gladiator 2 is about.
I think it's based on there's a kid in the first movie.
Yeah, Commodus's kid.
Yeah, he's grown up in this one. Why don't you look up the synopsis, Daniel? While you do that, I'll reply to Sean. Are you watching The Curse with Nathan Fielder? Not yet, but it's on my list. I quite liked the rehearsal. Well, I loved Nathan For You. I laughed harder at that show than I've laughed at pretty much anything else in my life. The rehearsal, I loved the first episode, liked the next couple. By the end, it kind of wore off on me. Daniel and I actually did a deep dive review on the rehearsal, the full first season, over on the OneTake podcast channel, where this will be archived after we wrap this up. No, but I haven't watched The Curse yet.
Gil, I thought you weren't involved in that podcast about the rehearsal.
Yeah, was I even on that? I'm not sure. I think that was mainly a Daniel thing. I've been trying to distance myself from that because, well, watch the video and you'll see. Daniel asks, did anyone see Jury Duty? I did. That one I had the opposite experience from the rehearsal. At first, I was kind of iffy on Jury Duty because the premise of that show is you have an everyday person thinks he's on a jury, but what he doesn't know is that everyone else, the judge, the rest of the jurors are all actors. So they have ridiculous scenarios playing out, and you see how this person reacts, thinking all this is real. But for a lot of the first couple of episodes, there will be scenes that he's not even in. And when you're not with him, it's essentially like you're watching a fairly poorly done sitcom. How am I going to get invested in characters when the whole thing is a prank on that guy? But as the season goes, I started to get invested in the what I'll call sitcom part of the show, and then the parts with the guy who doesn't know what's going on, those were hilarious from the beginning. So once both aspects of it started working for me, I got really on board, and by the end, I kind of fell in love with the show. Really entertaining.
I watched a couple episodes of it. It seemed really funny. I want to keep watching.
You should stick with it. Do you have the synopsis? Gladiator 2?
Yeah, so okay, Gladiator 2, everything we know so far. I skimmed through it, and we know nothing. So, saved everyone the effort.
Is Denzel Washington in it, or am I making that up?
Denzel. Oh, yeah, Denzel Washington's in it. So we do have cast.
There you go. By the way, I apologize for my voice not being as beautiful as it usually is, but I came down with a cold a couple of days ago, which hasn't been that bad, but it's also just uncomfortable, making it near impossible to sleep. So I'm also sleep deprived.
Sorry, Gil.
Daniel, remember when you were like, why can't we have more Pedro Pascal? Reed Richards, Fantastic Four.
Thank God. I like Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, the thing I'm hearing is that, everyone likes him, but people feel a little bit like he's starting to show up everywhere. And it's like, enough. It's kind of the Chris Pratt syndrome. Mario, and now he's Garfield. Every animated character has to be voiced by Chris Pratt. I
like Chris Pratt too.
Yeah, me too. Okay,
why do we need more than Chris Pratt and Pedro Pascal?
And
together they can do everything. And Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, between the three of them, we've got everything covered. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Daniel. Did you see the first 3 of the reboot franchise?
I think I saw only the first one. Did they all have, what's that guy's name?
Franco?
The guy who used to teach at Brown, yeah. Franco.
He taught at NYU, I think.
No, didn't he?
Right.
I think he taught
I don't have a boo button, so I'm going to have to go with applause, but James Franco.
Isn't he? I thought he was like persona non grata now.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he wasn't in the second or third one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he's definitely not in this new one. So Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, I think, takes place a century or two after the last one. I forget the names. I think it was War for the Planet of the Apes. This one is interesting because it's directed by Wes Ball. Why is that interesting? Because he is the one who was tapped to direct the Legend of Zelda live-action film. So we can consider this kind of tryouts. I have not been blown away by Wes Ball. I think the only thing I saw from him was that Maze Runner movie, which I thought was basically fine. I mean, as good as a young adult Hunger Games. I don't want to say ripoff. I don't know which book came out first, but it was at the time of the young adults boom. I wasn't blown away by it, but I've heard that some of the independent stuff he's done has shown some real talent. But I look at this as, I like the other Planet of the Apes movie, so I hope it's good. And to me, it's tryouts. Because Mario, I was satisfied with just a bunch of references and hey, I'm gonna sit down with my brothers who I played Mario on the Super Nintendo with 25 years ago. We're gonna sit in theaters for essentially a tribute concert for Nintendo. So it was just a ton of fun. For Zelda, I want more than music and references. I want that too, especially on the music front, but I also want a legitimate story. I want to get immersed in that world. So I'm worried. I care more about Zelda and how they treat it than I did for Mario. Joker, Folie à Deux.
Is that actually a musical with Lady Gaga, or is the chat messing with me?
Everyone is saying it's a musical. Nobody has officially confirmed that. I think it's possible it has a couple of musical sequences and maybe it's not a full-blown musical. It does seem like the consensus is that it's a musical. So even though it hasn't been officially confirmed, so many people are saying it and people on the inside have kind of danced around it. So yeah, I think it probably is a musical. You can imagine it. You can because there were parts of the first movie that took place in his mind or weren't quite aligned with reality. So if he's totally going off the deep end, and this term here basically refers to when a psychological condition is essentially contagious. So you can picture the two of them having a sort of shared hallucination and getting into some kind of weird musical.
Did you hear about that? I gotta pull my like keyboard around so I can do this. Did you hear about that like dancing craze in the 1500s or whatever that like attacked a town?
No.
All right, I'm gonna find this. The dancing plague of 1518. In the chat, let me know if anyone has heard of this before. So the dancing plague of 1518 was a case of dancing mania that occurred in Strasbourg, Alsace, which is part of modern-day France, from July to September 1518. Somewhere between 50 and 400 people took to dancing for weeks. There are many theories behind the phenomenon: stress-induced hysteria, poisoning.
Can I put forward a theory?
Yeah.
This did not happen.
No,
I don't believe it. I just don't believe this.
It's right here.
Spontaneously began dancing for 2 weeks and they couldn't stop.
Veracity of deaths. Veracity is a fancy word for like truthfulness, factfulness. All right. Controversy exists over whether people ultimately dance to their deaths. So 1 second, there's not controversy over whether it happened. It's whether people died or not. So some claim it killed around 15 people per day.
Hold on. Guy Incognito, can you look into this, please, and report back? I don't believe
Guy
this.
Incognito agrees this is one of the creepiest events in history. Historical documents.
He might be talking about what Sarah Elizabeth said about Lady Gaga.
No. Physician notes, cathedral sermons, local and regional chronicles, and even notes issued by the Strasbourg City Council are clear that the victims danced. It is not known why. Historical sources agree that there was an outbreak of dancing after a single woman started dancing, and the dancing did not seem to die down. On. Let's ask ChatGPT.
Wait. Was it dancing or was it like what's the word I'm looking for? A seizure?
No. Dancing in the street. They're very clear that it was dancing.
Okay. Maybe we need to cover this on another episode. Well, Guy Incognito was there. He must have been one of the only survivors.
Guy Incognito is actually a resurrected Maximus Decimus Meridius.
Oh, I accidentally went to the next slide.
Oh, no.
That was embarrassing. Somebody might have screenshotted that. They know all the spoilers.
I didn't see it.
Daniel, how about Ballerina?
What is that?
This is a John Wick spinoff. Remember all the ballerinas in Chapter 3?
That could be cool.
And it takes place between 3 and 4. And John Wick is set to make an appearance.
I mean, they have him in the trailer. Or no, wait, that's just a video. There's no way there's a trailer yet.
There's no trailer yet.
Wait, why does it say 20? The poster says 2023. Was it originally slated for this year?
Yeah, I think so. Some of the stuff on here was, Dune 2, for example, was supposed to come out last year.
I mean, like,
though
the
I
posters
didn't watch,
look cool.
I still haven't watched The Continental. I heard mixed things, and it kind of just deflated my hype for it. So I still haven't watched it. But, some of in the mix of things I heard is that the action's pretty good. So at some point I'll watch that.
We need to, yeah, we got to check that out.
Yeah, and if we go back to our live stream poll, what people want most is
Oh,
in-depth reviews of a movie, different movie or show each stream.
so okay, but you were unclear. In-depth review of a movie, but then you mentioned shows in the parentheses.
Yeah, I figured an in-depth review of a movie or show.
All right, hopefully that's what people meant. I agree. I think that would be fun to do. Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah. All right, Ballerina. Any other thoughts on movies coming next year? I already know your most anticipated. Venom 3, obviously.
I haven't seen any of the Venom movies.
Really? Did you at least watch my
check
recaps?
Of course.
Good.
Twice.
All right, Daniel. I know what you're thinking. What about TV? There you go. These are
Avatar?
These are all the shows coming out in 2024.
Oh, Avatar, like from the anime. Oh, yeah. 3 Body Problem. That's pretty interesting.
Okay, so this show, if this show was announced 8 years ago, people would have been hyped beyond belief. And I'll tell you why. First off, you know the premise of this?
Yeah, so, I know it's a sci-fi book written, it was released in China by a Chinese author, and I read, like, the first chapter.
You did?
Yeah.
The series portrays a fictional past, present, wait for it, your favorite thing, and future, wherein Earth encounters an alien civilization from a nearby system of 3 sun-like stars orbiting one another, in an example of the 3-body problem in orbital mechanics. I mean, that alone is enough to get Daniel, you on board because you love science fiction.
So, you know what's funny? I never actually looked up what it was about because I didn't want any spoilers at all. But that's maybe why I never read beyond the first chapter. Now that I know that's what it's about, I think I'll pick that back up.
But you know who's making it though?
Who?
Oh, Adam's gonna love. Oh, Adam probably already knows.
Oh, Benioff and Weiss. No way.
Yes. Benioff and Weiss. So the creators of Game of Thrones. Now, the first few seasons were good, right? So maybe the new one will be good. Oh, Amazon. Yeah, anytime a show is announced and you find out it's going to Amazon, Adam immediately just loses interest. They've done stuff that's okay. Like I liked Invincible. I liked The Expanse partly. I never actually finished it. But they haven't done anything that I thought was absolutely great. So, yeah, but 3-Body Problem is Netflix. Honestly, the same is true for Netflix, though. I can't name any true Netflix originals that I loved.
Yeah. Agatha, though, actually, I've been dying for.
Arcane. I loved Arcane. And that was a Netflix original.
Wait, when are they going to do an Arcane 2?
Dude, look at the list. You know how hard I worked on this
Is it on
slide?
there?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. Let's
Arcane
go.
S2, November.
Wait, and what's Dune Prophecy?
There's a Dune TV show coming out this year.
That's pretty cool.
It takes place, I think, like 1,000 years before the movie. It focuses on the origins of the Bene Gesserit. And Denis Villeneuve, he's producing. I know the first couple of episodes are from the director of Chernobyl. So sounds like they're treating the show with the seriousness it deserves. But, Adam, it is Amazon. Oh, Daniel Fa, Blue Eye Samurai was great. That's another one when Tony was asking about the best on the Hack the Movie stream. One of the super chats was asking about our favorite streaming series of 2023. If I'd seen more of Blue Eyed Samurai, that probably would have been on my list. I'm only 1 episode in, but it's great so far.
Oh, House of the Dragon. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, House of the Dragon season 2, which means the return of Tawken Targaryen.
Hell yeah.
And a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, the Hedge Knight.
What is that?
So that's another Game of Thrones spinoff. This one is, if you've heard of the Dunk and Egg books that George R.R. Martin has done, I don't know much about them. They take place before the events of Game of Thrones, after the events of House of the Dragon. I believe this would be a 6-episode limited series. It was announced for 2024, likely getting pushed, I think. You have the Penguin, Daniel, the spinoff of the Batman.
With Colin Farrell?
Yes.
Really?
Mm-hmm. That looks interesting. I know
Could be
you're
cool.
super excited for Agatha.
I cannot contain myself. I'm so excited. Gil, it was Agatha all along. I don't know how you didn't predict that.
What was Agatha all along? That always
It
bothered
was
me.
Agatha all along.
They acted like she's been causing all kinds of hijinks and problems the whole season. But if you look back, you can point at like one thing she did, which was make her brother come back with a different face.
I don't understand. Like, why are they making that? Who was anyone like? It's not like the Agatha character captured the cultural ethos at
Yes,
all
yes,
or
it did.
anything.
It did.
It did?
The Agatha All Along song was like #1 on Spotify
Oh,
for some period of time.
it was. I think I remembered that it did capture the cultural ethos, and in my head, it was just the opposite.
Yeah,
Why? How? I don't understand. Like, I really don't get that.
I don't know. I mean,
I mean, I generally enjoyed WandaVision, but Agatha wasn't like one of the highlights to me.
all right, you're back. It's just, when you
I'm
said you
being
enjoyed
censored.
WandaVision, I just kicked you out. All right, here's one where I think we need to just admit it. Just stop being so smug. You enjoyed Squid Game.
Yeah, I did. I enjoyed
I
it a
quite
lot.
enjoyed it. I know Adam, he's got some bones to pick with it. I did a video about bones I had to pick with it because when a show is really good and it's got some glaring issues, it frustrates me. And I think that show had some glaring issues, like the VIPs, like virtually any of the subplots. The whole subplot about the cop kind of sneaking into the whole system didn't quite work for me. But I'll be damned if I didn't finish each episode completely on the edge of my seat, manically like I gotta watch the next one and see what happens next.
So here's what I'm worried about. I loved all that stuff in Squid Games. In Squid, wait, it's only singular Squid Game.
Squid
Okay,
Game.
but I feel like what they do in a sequel is they start to go into the meta elements of it, which is more the subplots of like, behind the games and all that. But like that was the weakest part of Squid Game, right? If they could just double down and give us more of the games, I think we'll be hooked again. But I'm worried that
Yeah.
they're not going to do that.
I know it's the exact same concern I have for Severance, where it's a
Yeah.
great idea, but by the end of the first season, you feel like I have a hard time imagining how you explore the concept that got you hooked on the show any further. For Severance, the great thing was all the implications of severing someone's personality. And every time you explore another aspect of that, I found it so interesting. But I feel like all that's left for season 2 is digging into the mystery aspect of the show. And that to me, that's just a couple of guys making up a bunch of stuff to put inside of a mystery box, then slowly unveil it. It's hard to picture myself getting super interested in that. And you can basically apply the same thing to Squid Game season 2. Because what you want is more games. How do you make that not repetitive? It's almost like you turn the show into an anthology series. Get us engaged with a new group of characters, get us to care about them, then have them play some different games. But that's repetitive, right? Is that what we
I think you
want?
can do that. I mean, what shows that go on for a long time aren't repetitive? I guess that's repetitive because it's just it's a narrow concept being played out repeatedly, right? Like what
Right.
keeps you watching a show for a long time is you're like attached to the characters, right?
Well, you look at like Breaking Bad, for example. That show, the character of that show evolved over
Yeah.
time. And it's because it was focused on a character and their evolution. Here, I don't know, what are we focused on? We were focused on the tension of each of those individual games. I'm invested in the main character, but not in the way I was for Mad Men or Breaking Bad, where just following that character's journey is enough to sustain the whole series. Maybe it could be. We don't know what they're doing for season 2. And I like that they're taking their time with it. The fact that it's not out yet gives me some confidence.
Squid Game or Severance?
Squid Game, Severance, I'm losing confidence. I'm pretty sure there were 2 showrunners and one of them left. They couldn't agree on what to do next. The production was at kind of a standstill. I think they stopped filming in the middle to try and retool the scripts. Maybe that's a good thing. It's like, hey, we're not going in a good direction. Let's stop and figure this out. And maybe we'll get something good out of it.
Maybe Severance should have just been like a mini series, like tack on just 1 or 2 more episodes and really finish the story.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be.
Like Devs.
Yeah.
Like,
Like it's
I mean,
hard
Devs
to,
was all about a really interesting concept too, right?
yeah, it was. I mean, yeah, you had compelling characters, but I'd say primarily it was the mystery and it was the philosophical questions that come out of that. And he finished his exploration by the end of the season, and that was it.
Yeah.
It's not the kind of show
Yeah.
that gets a second season.
I guess you could have then taken the technology from Devs or the technology from Severance and use it to just create a mystery box show. But then it's just sort of generic. Like there's nothing that interesting. I don't know. I'm just trying to think about that. Like with Severance, it is such an interesting concept that it would have an interesting effect on the way a mystery box show plays out. Right. But I guess it's just not as compelling or interesting as the first season
Yeah, it could be.
was.
Again, I mean, the reason why we like these writers and creators is they're thinking of stuff that we didn't
Yeah.
think of. So hopefully they'll come up with something.
The VIPs in Squid Game was like so cringe. Like, how did they
Yeah.
not see how cringe that was?
I mean,
Is
at
that like a
least,
cultural clash? Like in Japan, that wasn't cringe.
well, no, well, I'll say this. If you watch anime, for example, and you don't have dubbed on and you're just listening to subtitles, there are times where I'll watch a show and think, wow, the acting is incredible. And then I go online and people, native speakers, will say the acting was terrible. Because I think when you're reading subtitles and you don't understand the actual language, it creates this distance between you and the acting.
Yeah.
And you might not realize if it's good or bad. So I would be interested to hear how. Yeah, who said Japan? Was that you, Daniel?
No, couldn't have been me.
Well, no, I was using the anime example. That's why.
I said Japan though.
You, okay, again, I don't have a boo button, so just imagine these are people booing.
It's hard. It's hard not to hear that though and feel like, oh, I'm being rewarded for something.
Yeah. Well, I feel like my brain is so clouded from being tired, so I'm having a hard time getting this out. Okay, the TLDR. I would be interested to hear a native speaker and what they thought of the VIP scene. Maybe if you don't speak English and you're just reading subtitles, to you it just sounded fine. I don't know.
But even the whole aesthetic of the VIPs and
I
stuff, just
know.
like, yeah.
Trying to give him benefit of the doubt.
Hey, I love Squid Game.
All right, anything else on here that catches your fancy, Daniel? Come on,
I mean,
Marvel Zombies.
That actually did sound kind of cool. I'm intrigued.
Not really. I mean, the Marvel Zombies comic, which was guest written by Robert Kirkman, who writes The Walking Dead. I loved the original Marvel Zombies comics because it was just, you see the heroes in a totally different light. And it's a ridiculous concept to see Spider-Man and Captain America as zombies that are able to speak. It's a ridiculous concept, but Kirkman took it seriously. So it kind of became this dark comedy, but with actual tension and dramatic undertones. Like, picture this. Here's the idea. When you become a zombie, you're overcome by this hunger. Now, when you're a superhero and you're overcome by the need to eat human flesh, it's going to be pretty easy for you to consume that human flesh. So pretty quickly, the world becomes a wasteland. Once you eat human flesh, suddenly your thoughts become clearer. You're not hungry anymore. So imagine Peter Parker eats his family, Aunt May, Mary Jane, and then suddenly he regains consciousness. And he's like, what have I done? That's what you get in the original comic.
Wow.
You're not going to get that on this show. And it's a spin-off from Marvel What If. They did a couple of zombie episodes. They just weren't good. I have not been a fan of the What If series. I heard season 2 gets better. I haven't watched it. Maybe I'll give it a chance at some point. But to me, it has the same problem as like The Mandalorian, where you try and tell an entire story, but for What If, it's even worse. They try and tell a huge story that should be a movie and compress it. It becomes more of literally a what if. Like, what if this happened? Okay, here's a quick montage of what would happen if it was Captain Britain instead of Captain America. You don't get invested in the characters. It's only fun for the what if aspect. For Marvel Zombies, that's not what I want. I want characters. I want a story in this weird, dark, alternate reality.
That really reminds me. Are they making any more Andor? I liked Andor season 1.
Yeah, that show's not done. They're making more. I don't know when it's coming out. I still haven't finished season 1. I know. I talked to Adam about it, and he's like, "Yeah, it's good. It's boring though." And I've heard a lot of people have a hard time getting into that show. And I'll admit I was one of them. But that if you make it past like episode 3 or 4, things turn up to the next level and it becomes a lot more engaging. I really liked what I saw, though. I mean, at some point, I'll go back and finish Andor.
Yeah, you should have watched it at some point. I want to talk about it with you. I got into a big fight with one of my friends about it, where to me it was so obvious. Like one thing that happened was ridiculously stupid. Like it was so obvious to me, and my friend completely disagreed with me, and I got extremely frustrated. And I think I went to you to be like the judge, and you hadn't seen it, so it really screwed things over for me. But I didn't find anyone on the internet complaining about it, so.
Okay, so this might be another one of those like where you were crapping all over Squid Game when the whole internet loved it.
Yeah.
Will the Godzilla -1 sequel be called Godzilla -2 or Godzilla 0? Well, I think the term -1 wasn't, oh, this is a prequel, so it's minus, it's not a chronological term. -1, I think, was referring to the way that Godzilla is such a powerful force. He takes us to -1. So if the sequel has more monsters or gets even more aggressive, I put my money on Godzilla -2 to tell us the devastation will be so bad. We're going to be -2. Okay, Daniel, we're reaching the end here. We covered movies. We covered TV.
Video games.
Yeah.
Oh, was I wrong? Books?
I got nothing. That's the last slide. Well, we didn't talk about OneTake. What's coming on OneTake?
Gil, people don't want to hear that.
I know. Only 5% of people want to hear about that. That's why I saved it for the end. Well, let me say this. We're going to try and bring the live streams back. Right, Daniel?
Yeah.
And I think the general format. Ready? Okay, Adam, I wanted to run this by you. This is the perfect time. Captive audience. Here's what I'm thinking for the live streams. To please everyone. We will do the regular live streams. We'll start with the latest movie and TV news that we care about, okay? You remember that one time, Daniel, where I went through every single upcoming Spider-Man project? Both of us, by the end of it, were in tears. It was just horrible. So from now on, we're gonna put a filter, okay? We will only.
We were like, but MJ needs to hear this. We have to get through these for MJ.
And then by the end of the Spider-Man segment, I was supposed to talk about the latest news on the MCU timeline, and I was like, I can't do it. And then one person in the chat was like, please. So I was like, fine. So I begrudgingly discussed the MCU timeline. If there's no movie or TV news we care about, guess what we're going to talk about? None of that. Okay? So that's part 1 of the live stream. Part 2 is going to be other. That could be some behind the scenes stuff if it's interesting, and it could be random topics, not necessarily movie related. Our best live stream, the one that we most enjoyed, the one that got the highest viewership, and the one that in my day-to-day life, I ran into people. A lot of my friends know about OneTake, but they don't watch it regularly. But this one live stream, they were like, dude, I watched that video. Wow. You know what I'm talking about. Which live stream?
The Alien live stream.
We just talked about aliens because there was that whack job who went in front of Congress. And I'm sorry, Adam, to offend you. I know.
No, it offends me too. Remember, I kept arguing. I don't want to character assassinate the guy like you were trying to.
Well, I know Adam is hanging on. He's got like 2 threads that are keeping him sane right now. One is he knows the aliens are real and he cannot have that called into question. And 2 is that he's holding on to hope that I'm going to finish reviewing Lovecraft Country one day. So I think we need to make it a regular thing. It's got to be like out of every month, one of our live streams will just be the latest alien stuff.
Yeah. Wait, and Adam wasn't. What a travesty that Adam wasn't on our aliens live stream.
I know. Well, that's part of the reason we have to do it again. It's also, I hadn't quite figured out the best setup for recording. It turns out in 2024, if you want a quality recording, ideally you're in separate rooms. The further apart you can be, the better, because it's very hard to get a workable setup that's in one room. And the problem with that alien live stream is that the whole time I was over here talking like this. So you're like this, and I'm like super quiet. But somebody commented on it yesterday or a couple days ago. They were like, I just listened to this live stream for the 10th time.
Wait, did we do it on the main channel or on the podcast
That
channel?
was on the main channel.
I have to say that, I mean, that might have been like, it was so much fun. Like
Yeah.
that was like the most close to the most fun I've had on this YouTube channel.
I think we got to do once a month. It's going to be Weird One Take, where we talk about aliens. We talk about the dancing phenomenon. Anything that just doesn't fit the norm. You know, we talk about Daniel. Where did this thing come from? And once a month, we'll be focused on that. So, okay, live streams. This is how it's going to be. Movie TV news that we care about, and then random other stuff. And here and there, we'll do in-depth deep dives into a movie. When there's a new movie we care about, or if there's an old movie we want to have a discussion about. One thing I was thinking we could do, when I do a WERBA, when I do a what Blade Runner 2049 is really about, for example, maybe we can also do a discussion. So if you want to deeper dive into the movie, if you want to, discuss some of the themes or whatever, that'll be an opportunity to do that. But it'll be continuous experimentation. And go ahead, Daniel.
Well, I was going to say, I also, I tend to get really obsessed with random topics for a few weeks, right? And like they shift around. Like right now, I'm doing a deep dive on nutrition.
Don't worry, guys. You don't have to hear about that.
I want to be able to do presentations.
Okay, Aliens was our number one live stream. I think our worst one was when we talked about nutrition and pickleball.
Really? Was that was the thumbnail that was Peter Attia lifting a barbell?
Well, to be fair,
wait, what about our... Yeah.
That wasn't a live stream. That was when we briefly tried doing this as a standard podcast. And we just talked about whatever topics struck our fancy. And we posted the videos directly to the other channel. Logistically, that's how this is going to work. We're going to do the live stream on the main channel. Once it ends, it gets delisted. And if you want to watch it after the fact, it'll be posted on our OneTake podcast channel. I'll make sure the link is very easy to find. And we'll do that thing that all the channels do where we cut out clips. They have AI now that will find the most interesting parts and make shorts out of it. Maybe we'll do that. What are you laughing at?
The comments. Wait, what about our public speaking?
Wait, say it again about craft.
Look, they found alien craft.
Yeah, I re-listened to that part of it. You kept saying it like that. So the whole thing was that this person, this congressional whistleblower,
He found craft.
Yeah, we have an alien spacecraft. And Daniel kept saying like, yeah, so we have craft. We found craft, and we have craft in our possession. And I was like, why do you keep saying it without why do you keep saying it like singular? Or why are you not saying a craft?
Well, just like him, you have to assume I'm intentionally speaking that way to send a message out that I'm not allowed to say.
Rob K. Tony from Hack the Movies would be a great guest on Alive. Daniel Fa. Good call, Rob. And I'm going to second that. It's a great call, Rob. Honestly,
are they trying to fire me?
Yeah, I'm going to kick you out here right now. Tony,
You're like, oh, Tony's available.
We've discussed it. Tony doesn't want to come on here. He said he's too embarrassed to be closely associated with the OneTake brand. He said, it's one thing to have you on my channel, but to come into your home and be sullied by what you guys do over there. I want no part of it. Not really. The truth is that I just want to establish the live streams first, build up a little bit of an audience, because we kind of keep starting it and stopping it, so we can't get a consistent live stream audience. When Tony comes on, I want to make sure that he gets something out of it. I don't want it to just be that he sends some viewers to our stream. I want it to go the other way too. Maybe Cheekster can go over to check out Hack the Movies, or DD. Some of the regulars here. So I want to get some more regulars for the OneTake stream. And then we'll get Tony on. We'll get some other guests on. I've been talking to Hugh Jackman. He wants to come on. I've been talking to, who's the other guy? Michael Fassbender. Christopher Nolan. But I told him, your Werba was crap. And he was like, what's a Werba?
And people don't like watching like the behind the scenes people. Like interviews with directors and writers get like no views. It's so
Yeah,
funny because they have so much more interesting stuff typically to like say about a movie than the actors.
I was actually to Daniel Foss says Pepsi guy is available. Who years ago there was a guy in these ridiculous Pepsi commercials, and I don't remember what was ridiculous about them exactly, but something was. And when an angry video game nerd reviewed the Pepsi video game, he got the Pepsi guy to appear as a guest. I was thinking, I watched the Squid Game reality show, which I quite enjoyed. Honestly, when I saw the reviews calling it unethical, that piqued my interest. I was like, now I want to watch it even more. It made me wonder if, I think Adam might have said that maybe that was a psyop, that Netflix paid these publications, like, can you say it's unethical to get drum up interest? And I enjoyed it. It's just like we were saying earlier. One of the most fun aspects of watching Squid Game was the games. But people say when you take that and strip out all the anti-capitalist commentary, it's kind of disgusting. And I'm like, okay, let's be honest for a second. When you watched Squid Game, were you like, oh my God, the commentary, I'm loving this? Or were you more like, oh, I wonder who's going to die, and I hope that this main character survives? 90% of your emotional engagement with the show was the games. So I don't see any problem with just taking that aspect of it and enjoying it. I mean, are we going to say no more competitions? Competitions are exploitative. Sports, I mean, one team loses and feels bad, and they're only playing it to make money. And it's like we're watching these people, for our own amusement. It's basically like Gladiator from back in the day, even though we loved that movie. So anyway, I was trying to get one of the guys from the reality show. I really connected with the Trey. I was going to say character, but he's a real person because he kind of reminded me of Andrew Garfield. And then I found out that he's a delivery guy, which is what Spider-Man was doing in Spider-Man 2. And so I was like, I bet I can get Trey on here. So I don't know, do people want to see, who would you rather see, Trey or Tony? Though Tony interviewed, same thing happened to him. He got really into this kind of a reality show called Fish Tank. My understanding of Fish Tank, and I haven't done the deep dive into it, he became obsessed with it. I think he became a meme in the Fish Tank fan base, from what I understand. But Fish Tank is basically a 24/7 live stream inside of a house. A bunch of people are living there. You can switch around the cameras and just watch them 24/7. Like right now, you could check in on them. What are they up to? So it's like Big Brother, like 2.0. And they also do a bunch of random challenges to get people kicked out. And then at the end, one of the people in the fish tank is the winner. And Tony had the winner on for an episode, but apparently was very unpopular. People hated her. I guess she was like crapping on some movie that everyone loves. I forget which one. But, I think the original Willy Wonka. You liked that movie, right, Daniel?
I love the original Willy Wonka.
Okay, good. I didn't want to pull a Tony fish tank situation again. Macaulay Culkin is a pizza delivery guy too. Maybe you can get him. Yeah. So Daniel, he appeared as a pizza delivery guy on AVGN. Yeah, Daniel Fa. That's right. Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka. We were talking about something. We got so lost in the weeds there. Yeah, live streams. It's going to be awesome.
Topics for live stream. I was going to ask you how our public speaking live stream went, because personally it was very lucrative for me. We just spent the live stream with you teaching me how to do public speaking.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the 2 traditional podcast episodes we did. So, I mean, we knew posting them onto the second channel, they weren't going to get views. That was an investment in a long-term thing where we're hoping that channel gets viewership over time and then people will go back and listen to them. But considering that now we're going to be talking about the latest movie and TV news, it kind of makes these episodes no longer evergreen. So no one's going to go back and listen to that. I'm sorry to tell you. And maybe we can repackage it and re-release it at some point.
Yeah.
Adam, fun fact, Daniel was the body double for the kid who turned into a blueberry in the original. I want to see Wonka, by the way. I heard this is the problem with going back to Tony from Hack the Movies. He does this wrap-up live stream at the end of every month where any of the movies that came out recently, which they didn't cover on the podcast, they cover in one marathon session. For 2023, it was a 3-hour live stream. And he had sent me a list of movies from the year. It was 12 movies. Now, like I said earlier in this stream, I have a hard time watching content that I'm not going to create content out of. So there's a lot of movies that come out I don't bother watching. But his live streams have been great. They've given me an excuse to go watch all these things I wouldn't normally watch. But I end up procrastinating and watching them all at the last minute. So it was like 3 days before the stream. I got 12 movies to watch. So for the next 3 days, I'm watching 12 movies. And I saved the best for last. I'm like, let me get through the crappy ones first. But then I run out of time, and invariably, I end up not watching the best movies. So I didn't see Wonka. And there was another one that happened again on another stream where there was this like alien movie on Hulu that was basically a silent film that I heard was really good, like Hitchcockian. And I never ended up seeing it.
Wait, how did The Creator do? Not very well.
Box office didn't do very well. Critically, very mixed. But I do want to watch it.
Yeah. I remember like the more trailers came out, like the less interested I got.
Yeah, same. I mean, I remember the further I got into the first trailer, the less interested I got. I was like,
didn't we do a live reaction to that?
We did. Yeah, we did a live reaction. I just laugh because like just reaction videos are just so funny to me. Especially now. Yeah, go ahead.
We should do more reaction videos. It's like the lowest hanging
I know.
fruit for content.
I mean, the first reaction video we did, I was like, what the hell? Let's try and promote the new podcast channel. And like what I wanted to do on the second channel. Oh, but okay, so Rob K says No One Will Save You was very good. That was the alien movie I mentioned, which I didn't get to watch. The second channel, OneTake Podcast, which I think might be called OneTake Clips right now. Maybe it'll stay that way. Originally, we wanted to call it Two Take. I still don't hate that idea. But I wanted that to be the archive for live streams, clips from the live streams, but also just more casual content that doesn't fit on the main channel. So we were like, screw it. New trailer came out for the new season of Better Call Saul. Like in 5 minutes, we recorded a reaction video, and it was like our most successful video on that channel. Like 900 views, but for a fairly new channel, 900 is great. When we first started OneTake, it took, I think, a few months before a single video broke 100 views. Daniel, 100 views. It took months.
Yeah. Gil was grinding for a long time before he got any recognition.
All right, you want to wrap this up?
Yeah. Well, this was fun. I like this. We should do this regularly.
Yeah, I love it. Every live stream ends with, that was fun. We should do more of this.
I was dreading this all week, but it actually ended up being pretty fun.
Yeah. So, okay, last thing. Can I say one more thing? What people can look forward to on OneTake in 2024. So, I would say in 2022-ish, OneTake had a little bit of an identity crisis. Part of the natural evolution of a YouTube channel. I was trying a lot of different things, trying to see what works, and trying to hone in on that beautiful cross-section of what works and also what people want to see. And that's important for a couple of reasons. When you start a new channel, people tell you YouTube 101. You want to find your niche. And that's because a couple of reasons. From an algorithm standpoint, you want YouTube to understand what your channel is. For example, there would be a time where I spent months covering Better Call Saul, week to week. And then we switched to Raised by Wolves, this niche sci-fi show. Then when we come back to Better Call Saul, we get very few views. And I think it's because YouTube doesn't know what to do with that. It goes, oh, they're a sci-fi channel. And then I come out with a Better Call Saul video. They serve it up to these sci-fi fans. They don't click on it. And then YouTube says, I don't know what's going on. I don't know who the audience is. So from that standpoint, it's important to kind of focus in. And it just naturally makes sense for an audience. If you subscribe to OneTake because you liked one video, but the next 5 videos are on a completely different topic, you're not going to click on them. And then suddenly, maybe you're not a fan of OneTake. So it just makes sense across the board to focus the channel. And so if you look at 2023, about 80% of the videos were what blank is really about. That kind of became the flagship format of the channel. And then recaps and timelines were kind of this occasional special thing. Like, I don't do recaps of one or two movies. I do recaps of all the movies, right? All the Terminator movies, all the MCU movies. So going into 2024, you're basically going to see 3 video types. What Blank is really about, the occasional special recaps or timelines, and the third video format will be like the Halloween video, where I recapped and reviewed every Halloween video, every Halloween movie, all 13 of them. I kind of, I was toying with branding that series with a name. I was thinking about OneTake Watches, because unlike a traditional review where someone's seen the movie and now they're telling you about it, with that Halloween video, I tried to make it feel like you were sitting down with me and we're watching the movie together, because I'll sort of introduce the movie, then I recap it, and then afterward, I'm like, all right, let's talk about it. What did we think of that? So it's almost like I screened the movie and now we're talking about it. So I did it for Halloween, and I'm going to do it for other franchises. Around Halloween time, people have asked for Nightmare on Elm Street. That's a good franchise for that. But throughout the year, I'm going to try it for some other franchises. So that's what you're going to get next year. What Blank is really about, recaps and timelines, and OneTake Watches. So I think it's going to be fun. And then plus the live streams and some other experimental videos that don't fit any of those 3 formats, but you got to always try new things. What do you think, Daniel? Good plan?
I like it. I'm excited.
And
you got to see what Adam says about it in the chat.
If you look at, I asked people what they want to see this year. 4% want something else, but they did not share in the comments. So I'll spend the rest of the year trying to figure out what that something else is. All right, let's wrap it up there. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Daniel, Fa, Selena, Adam, Rob K. People that found me on Hack the Movies, thank you for making the hop over here. Really appreciate it. So if you enjoyed this, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you get notified the next time we go live.
Thanks for watching.
Adam says he thinks we should do something else.
Adam, can you elaborate in the comments?
All right. With that, tell him, Steve Dave.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Daniel. You can say whatever you want to say.
Thanks for watching, and see you on the next One Take.